I realized at that moment that I was never going to come home again and see Annie at the top of the stairs. Never going to see her again at our breakfast table in her nightgown and socks. I suddenly realized what was happening. Annie was all grown up and leaving us. And something inside began to hurt.
Welcome back, SmorgShowers. This is the Smorgasbord Radio Show, the SmorgShow Podcast, episode 143, recorded June 11th, 2022. I'm your host, Chris, and I'm back in the saddle again doing the show solo. So this is a hat tip to Father's Day. We're putting this episode out about a week early. A week before Father's Day, because we're hitting the road. We've got a wedding to go to this weekend, and we wanted to stay on this 2-week cycle. So one of Allie's bridesmaids from her wedding last year is getting married this weekend, so we are taking a drive to Indiana, Bloomington, Indiana, and we're just going for the weekend. So I just wanted to think about what could we put out for the show this weekend on this 2-week cycle. And I thought, you know what? Father's Day is coming up. So what can we do Father's Day related? Well, I decided after, I guess it's been 9 months now, we never really put this out, but the father of the bride speech that I gave for Allie back last September, I just thought, given that I'm going to a wedding this weekend, we got Father's Day, but then leading into it, I'd like to, in the spirit of what we've been doing over the past few months, as we're gearing up for the 40th anniversary of this radio show, to go back into our past. And this one actually isn't going back that far, very far. It's last summer. It's about a year ago. Dave Jackson, my original radio partner from the SmorgShow podcast, which he has not been out here in, oh my gosh, probably since this particular episode that I'm about to play. And of course, he was a regular staple on the original radio show and has made probably 50 or so appearances on this podcast since we relaunched it, 12 years ago. Dave Jackson, I decided to do some research on how to do a proper father of the bride speech, because you just don't go into this, half-heartedly and on a whim. You have to make an impact. And I wanted to make sure I had an impact, and I want to hit all the right notes and hit all the right points. So I did some research. I bounced those ideas off of Dave. We were supposed to come back a few weeks later, or after the wedding anyway, to get the speech and listen to the speech back and see whether I hit all the points. It took about 4 months or so to get the video from the wedding and everything back. And by that time we had moved on and we never really circled back to the concept. So what I'd like to do on this episode is play the, 15-minute clip or whatever of the things that you should do for father of the bride speech. So this is very topical for, we're heading into the wedding season here. If you're a father, if you're dad out there listening to this show right now, or maybe you did some research, you did some Google search, and then this is 10 years in the future, and you came across this podcast because it came up in your hit, and you're looking for tips on how to write a speech. You can listen to the tips, use what you want, no charge. And if you're still hanging on, you want to hear how I use those tips in my speech, hang on and you'll hear that. Okay. And then we're going to come back and we have a very special surprise at the very end of the show. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Let's go back to, what is it? Episode, I don't even know what episode it was. Sometime last summer. Dave Jackson and me talking about how to prepare for a speech, for a father of the bride speech.
You going to practice?
The speech?
Yeah.
No, I'm not there yet.
Okay.
I'm in the research phase.
Okay.
So Bear with me while I get my notes.
Chris is shuffling papers right now in Studio B.
So there are some rules. So I don't know what to include because I could talk forever, but there's some rules around some guidelines, let's say. And there are companies that you can hire that will write your speeches for you.
Oh, no.
You don't want to do that. You don't want to outsource your emotion.
Oh.
It's like, just tell me what I should say.
Oh, wow.
It kind of reminded of two things. You and I went through speech class together back in the 80s.
Yes.
That was funny. And
yeah, I did how to change a guitar string. That was one of my speeches.
Right. I did
that.
Yeah. I did how to make bruschetta and
Pete did
well
how to avoid.
Well, hold on.
Okay.
Hold your
All
thought
right.
about
All
Pete.
right,
Let me finish my thought.
Yeah.
Mine was I had all the ingredients. I was working at Toys R Us at the time. And I had to bring all of my ingredients to show how to make this dish. And the class was in the evening, but I had to work all day at Toys R Us. So I thought, okay, I have all the tomatoes. I've got all the ingredients, and all the refrigerated ingredients I was able to bring inside and leave it into the company fridge or the store fridge. But I left the big roll of Italian bread in the car all day.
Oh.
And I don't know, it didn't really bake. It just became a solid club. And I'm up there in front of the class, and it was a demonstration speech because remember you had to do a persuasion speech.
Yeah, right. You had to.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
demonstration. And I get to the point of how to slice the bread, and I have the big knife, and it's not cutting the bread. It's just, it's solid. And I just remember having to break this thing over the desk, and it broke into like 20 pieces and went all over the class, made everybody laugh. And I actually got a good grade because I was able to handle this, the moment, and not get tripped up.
You rolled with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to Pete. He had a couple. He had how to iron a shirt, and he forgot to plug the iron in. So halfway through the speech, he's not getting the wrinkles out because the cord is just dangling behind the ironing board. What was the other one? How do...
So he did something about nuclear war, and the teacher really...
Oh yeah.
was taken aback by that because how can you take a subject like that lightly?
Right. So, and back to my earlier point, we did speech class together, and we also went through voice acting class. That's 10 years already now. So you and I have been through a lot. So now I feel it's appropriate for you and me to kind of talk about writing this father of the groom speech, a father of the bride speech.
Okay.
So just some tips that I didn't know about. Plan to last between 7 and 10 minutes. This is around 1,000 words, so keep it snappy and don't go into details unless necessary. Speak on behalf of you and your wife during the speech. Nothing destroys the harmonious image of married bliss like a father-in-law who forgets his other half exists. So I got to make sure I include something there about Kim. If you have to make in-jokes, at least give them a little bit of context, but avoid anecdotes that drone on and on. If it's the kind of story where you had to be there, it doesn't belong here. Yeah, you know me about my inside jokes. I'll just have to control myself.
Right, yeah. Well, you can test it out on us and we'll let you know if it's too inside.
Yeah. An entirely sentimental speech is going to win you brownie points from the wife and the daughter, but prepare for some ribbing from the boys at the bar. That would be you and Jerry.
The boys.
The boys at the bar.
All right.
Balance it out with some sharp one-liners from our collection. So here it is. They're trying to advertise their services. Should I subscribe?
It's a joke writing service?
Yeah. They want me to buy their sharp one-liners. I'm almost curious to know what they are.
Yeah. Chris, it's a good speech, but it needs a little punching up.
Yeah.
You need a little pizzazz.
Pizzazz.
Which we can provide at a nominal cost.
I know your memory is not what it used to be, but if you can remember the entire lineup from United's last FA Cup win, I can't. This is British. You can tell right now. Manchester United.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Soccer.
Right. I wouldn't know that.
Yeah. If you can remember those details, then you can at least remember the first couple of paragraphs and then read the rest. Okay, so I get up there and I just have to remember the first, and then I can read off of a card, or at least an outline. That's usually my style.
Yeah, outline.
Outline.
Because if it isn't partly ad lib, it just never sounds natural, really.
Yeah. Pace your speech properly using our templates, and pace yourself during the delivery. Don't read it like a racing commentator. Remember to leave pauses for laughs, because I'm going to get a lot of laughs and reactions. Don't dwell too long, though, as people will think you've had a stroke. Just stand up there. That's what I fear. I'm just going to stand up there, not because I'm paralyzed with fear for speaking, because that won't be it. It'll just be, I can't believe this day has happened. Try to infuse your anecdotes with a bit of character by projecting your voice in a confident and assertive manner.
Well, Jerry and I can stand behind you, and if we start to see your knees locking, or if you're going down, we can just prop you up, hold you up, so that you can finish.
All right, I'll have to make sure Allie puts you guys close table to...
We'll look like bodyguards, but we're really there to keep you from hitting the floor.
Okay. We'll get you shades.
Yeah.
Like Secret Service.
Yeah.
Yeah. Keeping an eye out for me, but
right.
not really looking at me.
Right.
Yeah. Nobody is saying put an amdram performance. That's amateur drama.
Oh, all right.
I had to look that one up. Amdram performance, but at least give it some welly.
Welly?
This is definitely British. I don't know what welly means. Remember to thank everybody who's been involved in the day, including friends, family, the little brats running around, and perhaps yourself. Don't just drone on like Gwyneth Paltrow accepting an Oscar. Definitely not. If you've gone for some risque jokes, then run the piece by your wife. Otherwise, you may as well double book the church for a funeral the day after. Well, we won't be at a church for this. Try and include both the bride and the groom in your thoughts, as otherwise you're losing half the room. That's a good point. If your daughter's marrying an absolute arse, then consider making thinly veiled threats using the guise of humor.
Just polish your revolver while you're giving the speech, or be loading it or something.
And finally, leave them wanting more, not less. Brief snippets of wisdom and mirth work best in a speech like this. Plus, you don't want to use up all of your good stories in one day. So then I have another piece here about gaffes to avoid. 10 common wedding speech gaffes.
All right.
Number 1, name mispronunciation. Make sure that anybody, you call you want to make sure you pronounce their names right. I can understand that.
Yep.
Number 2, X talk. This should be obvious to all, but unfortunately it happens far too frequently. Stay away from bringing up the X's, no matter how entertaining it could be. I don't know how that would even fit in.
Whose X's? Yours or?
Ex-girlfriend's ex-husband's. So I guess if she's maybe getting married again.
Oh.
Possibly. I'm assuming talking about
my
daughter's exes, not my own.
Yeah, I hope this guy's better than that last weasel.
Yeah. I don't have to worry about at least that. All exes are off limits for the conversation. Ridicule, jokes, anecdotes, and everything else that you might be able to say in your speech. No one wants to listen to past loves or have them brought up, especially on their wedding day. Yeah, it definitely hurts.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Sure.
Private stories. Number 3. Some stories are private and kept secret for a reason. Keep those memories under lock and key. No significant revelations need to be shared about what happened on New Year's Eve 10 years ago. If it's been sworn to secrecy, keep it a secret. Number 4. Oh, this is contradictory to...
Or in other words, what happens on Facebook stays on Facebook.
Yes. Over 5 minutes. Okay, so the last advice said between 7 and 10. This says don't go over 5. because children and the like will get bored and they'll start running around. I need to captivate the audience, keep them in.
Right, which is no small thing.
Number 5, too many drinks. Don't go for that second or third glass of wine or shots until your speech is over. No one wants a sloppy toast giver. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
fun.
You're the only one that will think it was a great speech.
Yeah, that was smooth.
At that point. Wasn't that great?
Number 6, ego boosting. This toast isn't about you, so don't use it to talk only about yourself. You may be the one who helped plan the wedding or introduced the newlyweds, but this moment still isn't about you, and you certainly don't need to spend the majority of the speech talking about those facts either. Keep the focus on the happy couple. Share stories and nice words. Encourage future thoughts. Leave the ego boosting at the door. Tip: after you write your speech, go back and count how many times you use the word I.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
Number 7, no 4-letter words. Keep the speech clean. An accidental F-bomb may be funny in theory, but it could easily come off tasteless. Number 8, inappropriate or embarrassing jokes. It's always fun to jab or poke a finger or two at the groom. But be sure not to go too far and outright embarrass him, or the bride for that matter. Jokes are needed. A giggle for the guest can help get the party started, but when the jokes are humiliating, it can leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and that's no fun for anyone. Number 9, reading lines. We're big advocates for preparation. This is another service. And we're big advocates for writing speeches down, practicing, and holding on to that outline in case a hefty dose of nerves strikes you and you go blank once the mic is handed to you. But try your hardest to look up from the paper. Don't read lines from the cocktail napkin. Well, that would imply that I wrote it right there on the spot.
Yeah, it would.
I won't be writing on a cocktail napkin. I'll have the index cards, the 5x7s.
Right.
And finally, so practicing your speech will help you hear. Too many ums, or so's can hurt the success of your speech or toast. People will get distracted by all the extra noise throughout your sentiment. Very good.
Now, does that company offer to write the speech for you too, or is that just the first one?
Looks like there's 2 different services I have here. I don't know. I'm just not going to do that.
No. I can't imagine anybody, like you say, could you write down my feelings?
And really quickly, just to close this segment out, there's another segment here. I won't go into too much of details, but it actually talks about the approach of like what I should be doing now. So now that I know those 2 do's and don'ts, this is more like how to write it. Now
this will get interesting.
Yeah, 7 easy steps. First, start your father of the bride speech with a few thank yous. So I have to include the people who've come in from out of town. Number 2, mention any loved ones who you're remembering. So if there's any family members who aren't physically present at the wedding, I'm thinking of your mom, who would absolutely love to be here. Number 3, share any special memories of your child. So that's going to be one I'll have to really think about. Think about the ones that are truly gems that I think would be appropriate for everybody to hear. Talk about your new in-law. Your daughter is the light of your life, but you also have a new child in your life now. It would be nice to address her partner directly.
Okay, yeah.
Use your father of the bride's speech to reminisce about the time when you first met him or her. If you're particularly close with your daughter, maybe she called you after their first date. What were you thinking? Has there been a time you were particularly glad to have them around? This could be sentimental or funny, but it should be genuine regardless of your true feelings. Let's see. Number 5, give some advice to your father of the bride speech. Some advice.
So that would be, yeah.
So if you're older,
that would be tough.
Yeah, I know. If you're older and wiser, I'm definitely older. And if it makes sense to you, give the new couple a piece of advice towards happy marriage or just happiness in general.
Like when you disagree, when you have a disagreement, argue fairly, that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Right? Something like that. Don't change the topic.
Yeah.
Keep it on point.
Right.
No name calling.
Number 6, use a quote, but don't force it. This won't necessarily work for all father of the bride speeches, but if it feels natural to work a quote that particularly speaks to you in your toast, you shouldn't feel you should have to shy away from it. It could be a sweet way to end your speech. It doesn't have to be a profound quote. Don't just use a quote for the sake of using one, but if it's appropriate, if there's one that you specifically had a bond over with your daughter, like maybe something from The Simpsons. I don't know. I have to think about that one. And then finally end with a toast. All right. So I've got the framework. I've got 3 months to get this in order. I don't think I want to air it here because, I want it to be a surprise.
You want it to be fresh.
Yeah. I want to make it fresh. And I guess whenever episode we have after the wedding, I'll play it here. And we can critique it against these to see if I've checked the boxes.
We'll see if it if it fit.
Yeah.
Great.
So
are you dreading it, or are you just kind of looking forward to it? Or you're not thinking about it?
The wedding or the speech?
Now? The speech.
I haven't really thought about it too much. But now that I'm 3 months out, it's starting to get more real.
Yeah. Once you know you have to do it now, certain things may occur to you. Maybe keep a notebook handy. Jot down certain things.
Yeah.
As they occur to you.
Yeah, it's like when I had to do
I want to mention that.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of what I do with my dad's eulogy. I had a lot less time to do that one. But I just came down to the studio one day and I just started to just write memories and things that I wanted to include and then kind of put it in kind of a structure afterwards. Probably do the same thing here. Like you said, just jot down ideas, things that I want to include, but then work on the flow, the structure as phase 2. All right. So now we go into segment number 2 of the SmorgShow podcast, and this is the speech. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. I'm Allie's dad. Thank you, all of our friends and family who have traveled from many miles away, some of you, to be here today, and many of our family members who are in spirit today who were not able to travel for health reasons, travel restrictions, travel concerns. And most importantly, we would like to acknowledge those family members who have sadly passed on prior to being here today, who would have loved to be here. Many of them are featured on our memorial table. These were very special individuals to Allie and Thomas growing up, and they're going to be in our hearts forever. To Claire and Steve, thank you for being on this journey with us. It's been wonderful. And thank you for raising such a wonderful man who our daughter has chosen to spend the rest of her life with. And finally, I'd like to thank Pastor Tom for your moving ceremony earlier, for joined Allie and Thomas together forever. As a father, this day is filled with many emotions. Seeing our only child all grown up and officially beginning her new life, a new chapter as somebody's wife. Lately, I've been reflecting on our times together, special milestones over the year, both as milestones in Allie's life, but also mine as a father. Going back to the day that Allie was born, the first time I held her in my arms in the hospital, 2:45 a.m. one Sunday morning, holding this little person in my arms as she struggled to open her eyes for the first time and grabbing my finger. And just looking into those eyes and just wondering what kind of a person she'd be, what kind of life she'd carve out for herself, and what kind of father I would be to this little person.
Flashing forward a few years, teaching her how to ride a bike, putting together model rockets, shooting them off into the atmosphere in the backyard. All the daddy-daughter dances, the endless school events, your early ballet recitals to talent shows, choir concerts, musicals, plays, eventually your own piano recitals, and then just a couple of years ago seeing you perform at Carnegie Hall in New York City. It was just many special occasions that I will always hold dearly. I am so blessed that Allie and I share a special father bond. She has shared in many of my interests, sometimes as a willing participant, and others just to humor her old man. Like my passion for radio broadcasting and recordings. We have done so many goofy videos and audio recordings over the years, did a podcast together for 10 years. She's been my buddy all along the way. I have never been as proud as I am of you right now. Looking at you and seeing how beautiful, what a confident, talented, compassionate woman you've become. You'll always be my little girl. I recently watched Father of the Bride, the Steve Martin version. It came out about 20 years ago, and I think I've seen it a few times along the way. But just a few months ago, Allie Thomas, her mom, and I sat down and we watched it again. And this is the first time I saw it through a completely new lens. I was the only person in the room that could relate to the main character. Steve Martin, who of course was Father of the Bride. One of the lines that stood out at me that Steve Martin said, and I paraphrase, "Growing up, you worry about her going out with the wrong kind of guys. But then she gets a little older, and you quit worrying about her meeting the wrong guy, and you worry about her meeting the right guy." And here we are today. And how do I know that Thomas is the right guy for Allie? Because Allie said so in her own words. The first time I realized that Allie was serious about spending the rest of her life with Thomas was when she said something to the effect that, "Dad, Thomas is the sum of all of my individual friends. You know, you've got the one friend who you've got common interests with, you've got another friend who you can be goofy and laugh with, another friend who you can share your hopes, your dreams, your fears with, and another friend who you can be totally vulnerable with and cry with." And she said, "Dad, Thomas is all of that rolled into one." So what do you say about that? So that brings me to Thomas. Thomas, welcome to our family. I've had my eye on you for nearly 7 years. I've always wanted the best for Allie. I wanted her to find somebody who admires her the way I do. And I see how happy and natural the two of you are together. When I see you sing on stage, worship songs, your little coffee house gigs on stage, I could see the true love between you, the way you look at each other. I've also taken close notice of how you respect her and you care for her. And I see when you've come to her assistance in time of need. And I believe from those observations, I know she will always be able to count on you. I'll be able to count on you. As with any strong relationship, it's important for both individuals to complement one each other with their gifts. And one of the ways that you complement the relationship, and this came up earlier in the vows, so we didn't even check. This is just great. Is that you bring a sense of calm to chaotic situations. Like the time that you were both together in Allie's first car accident. She called, obviously, visibly, or audibly, confused, concerned, emotionally a wreck. And as parents, we wanted to know the details. Is everybody safe? Do you have your insurance card? The police called. Tried to get those facts from Allie. passed over the phone to you. You talked to Mom, talked her off the ledge, gave us all the facts. Everybody's fine. And we knew that she was in good hands that day, that you were there to set things right. I think some of these skills come from your Eagle Scout days, your survival skills, which came in quite handy when you both, and you mentioned this earlier, came to us, and one day you said, we want to go cross country for spring break, and we want to camp at the Grand Canyon, see Zion National Park, and as parents, we were concerned. You know, our daughter, 20 years old maybe, going across country. I said, we need more information. So Thomas went away. A couple weeks later, he came back with a slideshow. And every day was mapped out. The itinerary, the budget, where they were going to stay. And we felt a lot better after that. And they made it back, as you could see. Those survival skills also came in handy a year ago when Allie moved out on her own. Again, seeing our only child, our daughter, moving out on her own, you're excited because your child is taking that next step towards independence, but also concerned that she's going to be living by herself. And Thomas was also concerned, so much so that he booby-trapped her apartment with security cameras, ways of, listening in on people in the hallway, other deterrents, let's say. And now that you'll be living there, you will be an additional layer of a deterrent. So welcome again to the family, son. Again, Claire and Steve, we're now one family. It's been great getting to know you over the past several years. Sorry, I'm being blocked here. Our family events, our holiday cookouts, our New Year's Eve celebrations. I look forward to many more years celebrating additional milestones, eventually the day of grandchildren, which I hope isn't just quite yet, but looking forward to it nevertheless. And finally, I'd like to acknowledge my wife, Kim, Allie's mom. When we were married 26 years ago, we had our life and dreams ahead of us. We didn't know how many kids we were going to have, how they were going to turn out, but we had Allie, and a few years later, we said, why ruin a perfect record? Allie's perfect, let's just stop. And so we did, and here she is. And I would just want to thank you for all of your dedication, your sacrifices over the years to raise such a wonderful daughter. She is so much like you. I look at her today and she reminds me of how beautiful you were the day we were married. And I'm so glad and blessed that she has had such a positive role model to aspire to in you. So now, if you're able, I'd welcome you to join me in a toast. Allie, you have been the light of my life for over 23 years, and now I turn you over to Thomas, who I know you are also the light of his life. May the two of you have a fantastic life ahead, with each year growing your love for one another, growing each year. May your marriage be filled with love, laughter, happiness, joy. Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Larson.
So, I didn't take score. I didn't keep score. I didn't go back and I didn't check the boxes. But if you did at home, I don't know. How did I do? I keep being told afterwards, people are coming up to me saying, hey, you made me cry. It's like, hey man, I was crying too. I was crying that whole day. So I had no idea what I was saying up there, but I guess it hit a note, hit a chord out there. A few people were very touched. So that's good. If you want to see it, we've got the video posted on SmorgShow.com. So you can actually see the emotions on my daughter, my son-in-law, and it was a pretty cool day. 9 months already, and now they've just moved into their new townhome. this past week. So things are moving along fine on that front. Okay, final segment in the spirit of Father's Day. I went back to episode 21. So we're going back to 2010. And Baba Gonesh shares his very emotional father to son story. The time he held baby Ganesh in his hands, in his arms. And this is true love. This is the love of a father is genuine. And I don't think it comes out any more sentimental than the way Baba presented it here. So let's do this and we'll come back and close out the show.
Thank you very much. This is Baba Gonesh, and I would like to wish everybody a happy Father's Day, if you are a father. You know, the concept of celebrating Father's Day in India is very, very new. The idea of celebrating Father's Day has been imported from Western countries, mainly the United States, perhaps less than a decade ago. However, it is remarkable to note that the idea of observing a day in honor of fathers has been appreciated by Indians to a large extent. Today, millions of people in India observe Father's Day on the third Sunday of June, just like the United States, by expressing gratitude for their father or men who are like their father. Father's Day celebration in India takes place in the same way as in the United States, though in a limited way. Awareness about Father's Day festival is much greater in metropolitan cities and bigger towns due to the greater exposure of people to the Western cultures in such places. But thanks to the rigorous advertising campaign launched by card companies and gift sellers, the idea of celebrating Father's Day is fast catching on with people in the smaller towns and cities of India. Just as in the United States, people in India too celebrate Father's Day by expressing gratitude and love for their papa. Children give cards, flowers, and other gifts to their dad to show their love and affection. Dining in restaurants or going out for a picnic or a movie is also another common way of celebrating Father's Day in India. Several schools and cultural societies in India organize cultural programs on Father's Day. The idea behind such programs is to inspire children to pay due respect to their dad and to care for them. Fathers are also encouraged to spend quality time with their children and instill in them noble values and manners. Now, all this talk about fathers brings me back to a very favorite memory of my own. In fact, you might say it's a multi-generational story. You know, I don't often like to talk about my personal life on this show because I like to maintain, a certain mystique about my life. But given the celebration of today, I think it is important to share a little bit of this with you. When I was a middle-aged man, so many years ago, my father and I went to a cricket game. That is a very popular sport in my homeland. While my infant son, Ganesh, stayed back with my mother and fell asleep at their house. I didn't get back to pick him up until about 12:30 in the morning, at which point I had to wake the poor child up and put him in the car seat for our long ride home. He was really good about it and fell back asleep for the majority of the 45-minute ride back home. When I got home, I grabbed him out of the car seat once again, at which point he got a little fussy. I don't exactly blame him. I woke him up out of a dead sleep twice and brought him out into the chilly weather. So as I'm carrying him up the walk to our front door through the early morning darkness, Ganesh turns to me, faces me directly, and he says, "Dada." And then an amazing thing happened. He ripped not one, not two, but 3 extremely intense farts. Oh, these were loud. Maybe they were just amplified by the stillness and dead quiet of the wee morning. But all I know is he farted right on my arm, and the vibrations carried all the way to my feet. If any seismologists want to know what that slight tremor was at 1:10 a.m. in the area of Barnala district of Punjab, fear not. it was merely my son displaying his staggering gastrointestinal capabilities. But the best part of this was the aftermath. After he farted, I was flat out impressed. Seriously, it was that good. So he farts, and then there's this 3-second pause where I look at him incredulously, and he looks at me as if to say, "Whoa, did I just do that?" So we were staring at each other, and then at the exact same time, we both started laughing hysterically, giggling like little kids, which is cool for him and possibly pathetic for me that I still find farts funny at this age. And then we instinctively high-fived each other. Oh, it was an extremely touching moment for me, and a memory that I carry with me to this very day. I excitedly told my wife Lomasi, which by the way means beautiful blossom, about this because I thought it was so darn hilarious, but she just thought we were disgusting and ridiculous. Whatever, she just doesn't get it. Some things are solely meant to be between a father and his son. I hope you enjoyed that story. It's a deeply personal one for me, and I'm getting a little choked up now.
Well, this episode has brought the need for a lot of Kleenex, huh? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the SmorgShow podcast on this episode. We'll be back in another couple of weeks, and I don't know what we're going to do, but you know, we're mixing in the new, we're mixing in the old between now and September. And when September, we will have some kind of a celebration that I'm still kind of thinking up what we're going to do for 40 years. 40 years. We launched the show in 1982. Of course, we had a 25-year lull in there before bringing it back in 2010. But everything we've done creatively over the years, even during that 25-year period, we did it under the banner of SmorgShow Productions, you know, because that was our brand name in high school, and we just continued it on. And so all of our video content that we've got that on YouTube, it's very grainy. It's from the 80s and 90s, but it's there. It's our record of our life. Everything's documented. Check it out. Anyway, thanks again for listening. 312-95-SMORG. We still have the phone number. Give us a call. And email us at feedback@smorgshowpodcast.com. And we'll be back again in a couple weeks. Take care.